Yo.
Hey there. We are still here.
Yeah.
We're back, or whatever.
With comics.
Yeah, not a big thing. We're just going to very quickly talk about the
comics we read.
From this week, of the number twos from the DC relaunch, just to see kind of where some of these are going.
Yep.
We're going to say we did not look at... There were a few that we just didn't look at altogether from last week.
Like Static Shock.
Yeah, Static Shock.
We only bought the ones that we liked.
Yeah, there were some
from
that...
last week.
Naturally, the ones that could not hold our interest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we'll keep an ear out if they end up if it turns out that there's something in them that's different from what we had before, then maybe we'll take a look at them. But as far as we think, if it goes off to a really bad start or a completely uninteresting start, then yeah, we're not going to follow them that much. So no Static, no Green Arrow.
The ones that we did review.
The ones that we did review, or the ones that we did read. Also no Men of War. I know I liked Men of War, but I don't know. Don't think I really cared enough to. When I was in the store, I was like, do I want Men of War? Nah. So yeah, Men of War is good though. I mean, still check out number 1 if that's your kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Look at the review. But so what did we get?
We don't have all of them here. We got Action Comics number 2,
Detective
Batwing,
Comics number 2,
Detective Comics number 2, Batwing number 2,
Stormwatch number 2,
2,
Justice League International number 2.
Yeah, and then we got Animal Man 1 and 2.
But we'll save that for
in another video. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So where do you want to begin?
Let's begin with the ones that we don't have in front of us.
Those are also the ones that I didn't really get a chance to look at in detail. So
yeah, so this is all
you could take the stage.
Okay, so Action Comics. In Action Comics number 2, we have Superman being kind of tortured in an electric chair by Lex Luthor behind, glass and everything.
Is it like just a full torture comic?
Basically, yeah.
Oh man, I like those.
Unlike Superman number 1, where it's Superman versus this huge big threat, in Action Comics number 2, it's just Superman in a chair, basically the whole issue, and Lex Luthor interrogating him, and then. It's on a military base, so you have like General Lois Lane's father come in. General Lane come in and say, "Lex, what are you doing here?" And Lex Luthor is like, "But I'm interrogating Superman." And because he doesn't.
And then the General's like, rah, 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 rah. Then Lex Luthor's like, wrong,
because Lex Luthor doesn't have like a lot of authority yet. So he has to try and justify everything that he's doing to the military superiors.
Does it carry over a lot of the?
It carries
like the themes, the tone from number 1.
Well, it is more of a like just a battle of wills between Luthor and Superman in this comic. You have Superman trying to resist. It's mostly Luthor talking to Superman. And Superman just trying to gain his strength gain his strength back so he can break out.
Is the art consistent?
The art's very consistent, very very dark, but you still have those spots of light to just light everything up and say that this is a Superman comic. You still have that brightness. It's just it's not as bright as it will be in the future. But it is mostly like a Battle of Wills type comic.
Would you recommend it?
I'd recommend it. Yeah, and at the end there's a big.
Don't tell me what happens at the end.
I'm not saying, but there's there's a big thing at the end.
Is it Batman?
No, but I'll give you a hint. It is a big Superman villain.
Toyman.
Yes. At least what looks like. Like they only get like a very exterior shot of a thing, and
Toyman.
I'm only guessing that.
Look for Action Comics number 2 and 3 starring Toyman.
But it looks like a really big, recognizable Superman villain. Next is Batwing.
Which I also have not had the chance to sit down and read.
Batwing continues right from how Batwing number 1 ended. You have the big thing that happened. I don't want to spoil it.
We're still not spoiling it.
Yeah.
What's the statute of limitation on single-issue spoilers? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Not 2 weeks, 2 months?
I'd give it, 2 months. Until, that plot point, I guess, is over with and a big focus of the next issue, maybe.
So a couple months.
Yeah, if you can't basically we can't talk about the issue that we're currently talking about without bringing up that spoiler.
Good point.
Yeah.
So the big thing happens, and then
So the big happens, and you get it's a lot of we find out what the villain Massacre is up to, and like we don't find out much about him, but we find out exactly who his targets are, and so we have Massacre going towards another target, who is another superhero from Africa, another African superhero. We find out more about Batwing's motivations and kind of Batwing's history as Batwing. There's a lot of scenes with Batman in them. You know, Batman telling him, "Oh, you have to do this, and you have to inspire fear in your enemies and all that."
So would you say this is more character-driven?
It's more character-driven, and it is more Batwing. It's more Batwing. A lot of inner monologue telling you about him kind of becoming Batwing and all the struggles that he has, both physical and mental, and trying to get that image.
Does that slow the pace of the comic, or does it hold up?
It slows the pace of the comic because of Batwing's current status physically.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of kind of stuttering going on in the comic, but otherwise it's still a lot of good insight. There's still a lot of action. There's off the top of my head, there's at least one big fight scene between Massacre and that other superhero. So you still have stuff going on, but it is more character driven. Yeah.
So
now onto the comics that we do have.
Would you recommend Batwing #2?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the ones we do have, we've got 3 more here. I've got 2 over here. I don't know where the third is. It's
there.
Over there. You reach for it. Reach for it. He got it.
We got
Which?
Detective Comics, Batman Detective Comics.
Let's talk about that one right now.
Okay.
Detective Comics.
Batman Detective Comics.
I actually just finished this. I have to say, we ended the previous one on a really gruesome note.
We end this one in a more gruesome note.
It's just, I have to say, it seems like this entire series is just getting more and more gruesome. It's really sort of, it's
almost sickening.
It is. It's going for a real squick factor. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that this is actually only rated T and not T+. Because it's...
Well, to have T+, you have to have tits.
That seems to be pretty much the difference between
Yeah.
T and T+. But, so yeah, it's definitely, I think, really...
It's hard to look at.
Yeah, it's bringing up the... Do we want to show, like, just one page? And even to hear, I mean, there are just things that are talked about. There's a lot of body horror.
I'm
definitely.
going to try and find, like, a good non-spoilery panel. There's a lot of patchwork people.
Yeah, it's... I mean, okay, the previous one had, in addition to the thing at the end, it had a guy wearing a mask made of meat.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing.
A lot of the things are kind of
compared to-
spoilery.
There's a lot of meat being...
If you're a vegan, don't buy this comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a humanitarian... But, yeah.
Delicious.
This is definitely... It keeps up... It's still very dark. I think we explore a bit more into Bruce Wayne overall.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little bit at the
The
beginning.
second issue seemed to be, like, a lot more character-driven than the first issues were because they don't need that hook anymore.
Although these are mostly books that weren't character-driven so much in the first issue. So I'd be interested to see how others end up following through.
I guess we could show this one panel.
Just show this one, not the one panel, just that one image.
You get a lot of new characters introduced that look like this, like full body shots.
And who
They
explains?
kind of look like what's it from Resident Evil? The big guy. He's in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. What's his name?
Hang on. I know. I thought this to myself actually. Nemesis.
Nemesis. It's like very gruesome Nemesis.
It actually gets, you do. So it's definitely carrying that over. I think the story is. It started off on a mystery. It's still definitely following that. It's following through on the mystery.
Well, now you know who, and it's a matter of why.
And I will also. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that Joker is, unlike in the other one, not playing such a prominent role in this. But I think that's actually good. It's giving us much more room for the rest of the story to develop. So overall, I definitely think that if you were hooked on the story of the previous one, that you should continue and go through. Although at the same time, if you're not, if you're kind of squeamish, I would say you might want to be warned.
I think Detective Comics is looking to be the more like the dark Batman comic.
I think Detective Comics usually is, but
yeah.
So yeah. Moving on to which one of these now?
Let's do Justice League.
Justice League International. Justice League International overall, I would say, is...
It continues the themes, the feeling of number one.
Yeah, this one is much less... In the previous issue, we had a mismatched group of superheroes put together for some reason. Now we do have more of the threat that they're facing unfolding. It's not in a necessarily detailed way, but we're getting little hints of things. There's much more action in this one.
Yeah.
So we get really more of a chance to see what these guys can do and how they actually function as a team. And it's still very character-driven. Not necessarily character-driven, but it's about the character of the team itself, of Justice League International. And can they work together? Can this whole crazy idea actually be pulled off? Overall, that's the focus of, I'd say, almost the entire comic.
Mm-hmm.
But it works, again, probably definitely more action-heavy than the previous one. I'm not going to say that the action is incredible, because we didn't really get to talk about the action in the previous one, because it didn't exist. The action sequences are alright. It's very chaotic, very scattered, but at the same time I think that's appropriate.
Well, like how the first issue was very kind of lighthearted and kind of golden agey, this one kind of follows the same thing, but a more modern take on it.
I think the other one, I would describe the previous one as more silver agey.
Whatever, silver agey. Like this, the big villain in this book, or at least the big battle, they're fighting a giant robot.
They're fighting the Iron Giant.
Yeah, so it's not like they're fighting... they're fighting kind of a stereotypical comic villain.
Yeah.
They're fighting a giant robot, and so it's not the smart... I don't want to say it's not the smartest, but it's not the... think of a word.
What do you mean?
Like, it's just very comic-y. It's not... It doesn't really bring a lot new to the table.
It's very typical.
Typical. That's a good one. It's very typical, but at the same time, you like the characters. It's endearing and
I think it works.
Fun.
I think it works because the focus isn't is our team going to be able to fight this monster. It's more how does our team fight when faced with this monster.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense it works very well. And we have a lot of the antagonism that's kind of budding in the previous issue really starting to blossom in this one, and it's definitely going to be being set up in a way that can carry through in future issues. So I would definitely say it's also less on the comedy, I would say. So, I mean, this is really developing it from like kind of a silly first issue into something that's still fun, but that can really carry out the story.
And you're getting into more not only
run.
Single character development, but character feud, I guess, or relationship development.
Like August General Iron and Rocket Red have like kind of a...
These two don't like each other that much. These two really like each other. Batman is Batman.
Yeah. Guy Gardner gets involved.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that if you read the first one and you were more than just intrigued and you actually want to see this through, I would say that it really starts developing in issue 2.
Yeah.
So it's probably worth taking a look at. Also, I don't want to say anything that will spoiler this, but if you don't care and you don't care about spoilers, please, by all means, go online, look up an image of the last page.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, there is something on that page, something very big, that does not belong there. It seems that universes are colliding or being ripped off somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it, but by all means, maybe if we could find it, we could like post a link in the
maybe. But let's just say
description.
A villain who you definitely wouldn't expect in a DC comic is in the final page of this comic.
And so that leaves us with Stormwatch. I love the cover. Why does it seem like every other book has like some loose connection to Watchmen? Here, a giant squid.
I probably still think that could be a character, but you think it isn't that character, but I think it still could be that character.
Yeah, it's not. Anyway.
I don't know.
Stormwatch. Stormwatch 1, what were our problems with it? It was cool, but it was kind of
all over the place.
Kind of all over the place, kind of scattered, both visually and in terms of story and structure. I was saying in the previous review that for the first issue, it might be doing that to introduce us to these characters. Then once the story comes together, it could become much more succinct as they continue. It's not doing that at all. I mean, number 2 is pretty much following the same pattern as number 1. The story is just as scattered and just as kind of pulling characters and plot points from all over the place. I mean, there is definitely a plot. They have to stop the moon from killing everyone.
Yeah.
But
that's totally happening.
But it's not really addressed in a very organized, straightforward, or easy to follow way.
No.
We have random characterization that is kind of all over the place. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's a lot more of the same from number one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were holding out on issue number one in order to say, well, I'll see if it gets like...
more coherent.
Yeah, it doesn't. So if you haven't read one and you want to take a chance on it, I would say maybe go look at one, and if you like that, keep reading. If you didn't like number one, then don't get number two. And if you liked number one, then, again, more of the same.
Yeah. It's just very confusing.
Yeah, it is. I would say it's clearer what the plot is.
Uh-huh.
It's not that the plot is... It's not like we have no idea what's going on. There is a definite... there's a story that's being developed. It's just that...
There's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's just very scattered and a bit... yeah, not so much incoherent as it is disorganized.
Yeah. What I'm really waiting for from the Stormwatch comics is that I want to see the point where it all comes together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it will. I mean, it might just be the writing that is just not
Maybe.
going for that. That's it. I'm less certain now if it's going to, I'm not sure if I want to keep reading, for entertainment to see if it's going to get there. Or if I want to just put it down and wait maybe half a year when the whole thing's done, go back and maybe take a look at it.
What it kind of, at least reminds me of, is kind of like Lost or J.J. Abrams type work, where you have all these questions that are being asked, and that's what, you have all these different characters with all these different things going on, and that's what gets you interested, but at some point you do want to know why all this is happening, and, you want to get all those questions answered. And so far this comic is just, it's not really answering a lot of them.
I like the X-Files, where they began by asking a lot of questions about a giant conspiracy, and Chris Carter, the creator, had no idea what the answers were and just figured he'd make it up as he went along. That didn't turn out well. But, and I will say also, probably there was a little bit of comedy in the first one. I think it's definitely sustaining that. This isn't necessarily... The stakes are getting raised, definitely, but I don't think it's delving into super serious territory. But in terms of clarifying things more or making things easier to follow, not very much. Also, there is one thing in this that I'm just going to point out that I am bothered by. It's on one of the first pages, so it's not a spoiler or anything. But Midnighter and Apollo are talking to each other after...
Martian Manhunter.
After Midnighter is laid out everyone. And Martian Manhunter stands up after he's like, it's very good that I decided to pretend to be unconscious so that I could overhear the two of you talking and then know what was on your minds. And I'm like, Martian Manhunter, aren't you telepathic? Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Stormwatch 2. I mean, it's very much, it almost feels like...
It feels like the first issue.
It feels like it's more of Stormwatch 1.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think that's it for what we've read so far of this week. I'm not sure if there's anything else this week that I was really interested in. Animal Man number 1 and 2 is actually going to be our next review. We did not review Animal Man 1.
Because we didn't pick it up.
Yeah, we didn't do that last month.
But I heard it was really good, so I wanted to.
Can
I talk about this a bit?
We can, I think, in a second if we get to that, and also the ad on the back I want to mention. But, so we'll be doing, I guess, just a full review of Animal Man 1 and 2.
Okay.
And we've been getting a lot of ads in the backs for Batman Noel.
Yeah.
And
I think it's on the back of every issue, too, or almost every issue, too. I just want to comment about the art for a sec.
For a book that we're just reading the preview of.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really going to comment on the story because, well, there's, just a preview. But just the art, it's very gritty, realistic, but just the design of Batman here, like this, looks a lot like the Batman Earth 1 type sketches of him. You have the pouchy belt and the signal being part of the cape instead of just being on the chest and the cape being separate. So, and DC was saying all this stuff about doing an Earth 1, which is kind of like an alternate universe like Ultimate Marvel is to Marvel, but it never got off the ground, and then they had the whole reboot, which is kind of just a...
They said they were still doing it, though.
Yeah, but I want to know, they keep on using the designs for stuff, and they look all very similar to the Earth 1 designs, and just wanted to bring that up, kind of. Because I do like the design.
Well, maybe it'll be in a very Batman. Well, it won't be in a very Batman Christmas, but at least the design is being used in a very Batman Christmas. And yes, I am calling Batman Noel a very Batman Christmas. Oh, also, if we could just comment on little things. We've still got
interviews
in the back this week. This month. It's Hawk and Dove.
And
this week. Yeah, but we got Rob Liefeld and whoever, the writer, being interviewed. They asked, what are you going to do to shock readers? Rob Liefeld responded, we're going to shock readers by doing the unprecedented thing of releasing a comic.
Wait for it. Are you in your seats? Are you braced? Are you holding on to your pants right now? Because you will shit them off.
You will shit off your pants when you hear this. They're going to be releasing... Wait, take a deep breath. Hold on to your seat because it will fly out from under you from the impact of you shitting your pants off. So you have got to... And you're not even sitting on a chair. You're sitting on a TV.
I'm sitting on a
And I'm telling you, the force of you shitting off your pants while sitting on that TV is going to be enough to fix it and make it work again. Yeah, they're going to be releasing a comic every month.
My pants!
No, seriously, that's what Liefeld said. I thought that was amusing. And also, another interesting thing, Arkham City hasn't even come out yet. Yet on every one of these, we're getting an ad for Arkham City, the album, which is songs, it's not music from the game, but it's songs by bands based on Arkham City. I know this is like a very highly anticipated game. I know it's like your most anticipated game for the year. But at the same time, isn't this going a bit overboard? I mean, it might be good, but I'm wondering, also releasing it more than a week before the actual game. I have to wonder, like, is it a promotional tool? Strange, but we'll see how that unfolds. So, anyway, that's
it for this video.
That's our look on those 5. We'll get back at you in a few days with Animal Man 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.